Good morning. This is the Pa. When I woke up this morning, I thought, wouldn't it be fun to solve some questions by elimination? Identify them. So this is what I decided to do this morning. Magically, if you come over to the piece of paper here, I came up with this particular two things, and I want to solve either for B and for C. And there's two equations here, equation 1 and equation 2. Now to do this, we have the same three steps that we did in our last video. So the first thing is that we have to solve for A and B, or in this case it's C and B. We have to solve for one of them. Then we have to put that value into the other equation. And then we have to use the number that we get to figure out the value of the second variable. So I'm going to do this. Again, I really look at this and sort of what's the easiest possible thing to do. And you know, part of all of this solving is just getting used to numbers and how they all relate with each other. So when I look at this, ask yourself, what's going to be easier to solve for? Something here or something here? And I look at it and I go, well, no, something here is going to be easier because these are all even numbers and I know they all divide into each other. These are harder because 7 and 5 and 21 don't have any kind of mathematical relationship between them. So I think it's going to be harder to do that. Could be wrong, but it doesn't matter. So I'm going to solve for this one. Off the top of my head, it's going to be easier to solve for C than for B because there's only two C's and I just have to divide everything by 2. So I'm going to take this one, 2C minus 4B equals 18. And first thing I want to do is get to the B to the other side, so that's just adding 4B to both sides. 4B plus 4B. So this ends up being 18 plus 4B. This ends up being 4B minus 4B is 0B, so it's 2C. So now the next thing is that I got to get rid of this 2, so I'm going to just divide both sides by 2. So divided by 2 here is the same thing as saying C. And if I'm going to divide both of these by 2. This one by 2, so 18 divided by 2 is 9. 4B divided by 2 is 2B. So C is equal to 9 plus 2B. Now, that's the same as this first step right here. I'm solving for the one variable, the other variable. Now, I don't really know what the value is of C, but I know that it's worth like 9 plus 2B. So I take this 9 plus 2B, and then I plug it into this first equation. Remember, you do it on one, and then you plug it into the other. So now I'm going to take, so that's step 1. Okay. Now I'm going to do step 2. I think I'll just start here. Okay. So I'm going to take that 9 plus 2B and I'm going to put it into the first equation. Okay. So I'm going to write the same thing, but instead of writing C, I'm going to write 9 plus 2B because it doesn't matter which one I write. It's exactly the same. So 7, 9 plus 2B minus 5B equals 21. Now I just have to solve for B. Now to do this, then I have to, first thing I always do when I see this is I expand. You just see it and you go, oh, I want to expand that. So 9 times 7 is 63. 7 times 2B is 14B, and then minus 5B. Minus 5B equals 21. Okay, now I want to do is get all the B's on one side and all the numbers on the other side. So I'm going to subtract 63 from both sides. 63 minus 63 is 0, so I end up with 14B minus 5B. 21 minus 63 is minus 42. And yes, I'm doing these in the head. You could do it on a calculator. I'm just used to doing it in my head. In the days when I was a kid, we didn't have calculators. We used to have little stones that we had to add up.
Whatever.
And then 14 minus 5 is the same thing as 9. So 9B equals minus 42. Now I got to get rid of the 9. So the easiest thing to do is just to divide both sides by 9. So that ends up with B, and that's minus
42 over 9. I'm gonna, I know that I can simplify that a little bit, because I know there's a relation between 42 and 9. Again, it's a little bit just knowing numbers. You can leave it like that if you want, but I know that I can simplify it a teeny bit, because I know that if I divide 9 by 3, it is the same thing as saying 3. And if I divide 42 by 3, that's the same thing as saying 14 rather. If you go on your calculator, 14 times 3 is 42. 3 times 3 is 9. Again, this is why, you know, as a kid, people learn times tables and all that sort of stuff. So b is actually equal to minus 14.3. So we have now done step 2. Right? So we used this equation to figure out b. So I'm now going to use the other equation to figure out c. So I'm going to go back to that first equation that I originally started working in. 2c minus 4b equals 18. This is step 3. See that? So instead of writing 4b, I'm going to put in this number, because again, it makes no difference whether I have a b or minus 14 over 3. So you end up with 2c minus, instead of 4b, it's 4 times minus 14 divided by 3 equals 18. See that? I've substituted the b for the minus 14 over 3. Now, so I have a whole whack of numbers right here, and then I have the 2c right there. So what I want to do is get the c by itself and get all the numbers on the other side. So I think what I'll do is just, I have to expand this out, because again, I like expanding. That's my preference, to do it right away, because I don't like all the messy bits in there. So if you take minus 4 times minus 14 over 3, a minus times a minus is a plus. And then this is the same as saying 4 over 1, right? It's exactly the same. So then you'd end up with 4 times 14 is 56. And 1 times 3 is 3. So you end up with 2c plus 56 over 3 is equal to 18. Now I don't like the, now I can move this over. So I'm going to subtract both sides, 56 divided by 3. So you end up with 26 equals 18 minus 56 divided by 3. Now, what makes me uncomfortable right now is the 56 divided by 3. Like I said, like a huge number. But if you think about it, this is probably a good time to solve this side. So you get 18, and you think, well, how many, that's a lot, right? Is it 10 or 15 or whatever? And if you think about it, as it turns out, 3 times 18 equals 54. So it's actually 56 over 3 is the same thing as saying 18 2/3. You might need to think about that for a sec. But if you take 3 times 18, you get 54, and then you add 2 and you get 56. So 56 over 3 is the same thing as 18 2/3. So now it's getting pretty simple. 18 minus 18 2/3 is minus 2/3. Now we know that 2c is equal to minus 2/3. Now all we have to do is divide both sides by 2. So c is equal to, and so you divide by 2 and you get c, minus 2/3. And just think about it intuitively. If you have minus 2/3 and you divide it by 2, that's the same thing as minus 1/3. So half of 2/3 is 1/3. So then you end up with c equals minus 1/3, and b is equal to minus 14 over 3. And that's how you do it.
Now I don't know what to do with the rest of my day. Bye.